Hi, NARC troopers. It's August 12th, 2021. August 12th. And COVID had over 150,000 cases today here in the United States. In the last week, it's been as high as in the 170,000 a day. And the southern states are blowing up. Florida, Texas, some other places like that. They have governors that are not really putting people's health first, I think, as a priority. I'm not sure what they're putting first, but that's not it. And I went back to school this week. Actually, I went back to school last week. Sophie's helping me here. Hey, hello, yes. Anyway, yeah, I'm back at school, which is scary. You know, in passing, I talk to other teachers and I say, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about everything? And they are pretty good about opening up to me and saying things like, I'm terrified. And I'm really scared to be close to the kids. And so I'm changing how I do things to kind of keep my distance. So parents, if you have children that are school age and you think that they need to be there to learn and socialize, I guess it depends on what grade level they are. I mean, you know, most people figured out that they could have an inner circle of friends, neighbors, whatever, that were like, you know, maybe 2 or 3 people that everyone made an agreement that they weren't going to go to concerts and bars and stuff like that. And they weren't going to let their kids go to giant birthday parties and, you know, places where there's swarms of children, and they make a little protective cocoon, and there's your socialization. The older kids, my students who are in high school, they have jobs, they have cars, some of them have sex. They have like lots of socialization, right? So I don't think we need to worry about that. If they're lonely, they can just get in their car and drive over to their friend's house, or go take a walk in the park, or go sit on a patio somewhere. So I want to talk about tonight, not COVID, but I want to talk about how we have to develop, how we have to evolve when we have a crisis. And I'm going to compare what happens after the end of a relationship with a narcissist, a sociopath, or a psychopath. I'm going to compare that to this whole COVID thing that's happening, the whole Delta variant thing that's happening, because I do see some parallels worth mentioning. I've often talked about how I think COVID itself is a lot like narcissistic abuse. It's epidemic, it's legion, it's infectious. It infects the whole body and it lingers for a really long time. A lot of the time, they say 1 out of 10 people have something comparable to long haulers, is what they're calling it, where you don't just get sick for a week or 2, but you stay sick for months, maybe forever. Maybe you're never going to be okay again. And to me, that parallels recovery from narcissistic abuse. The recovery from it, you know, you think it's going to be something acute that's just going to be for a couple of weeks and then you can move on, but no. You know, a lot of times it lingers and it takes just a whole lot longer. It could take months, it could take years to fully recover. So there's that parallel there. Now, when I first started writing about all of this, if you look at some of the first videos from 2 years ago, you're going to see that, you know, I was in it, in crisis, in meltdown mode. I was crumbling and having great difficulty managing myself. Since then, I have made progress in many ways. I have a much deeper understanding of what has happened here. And I've processed it. I think I've accepted it. But I still have a lot of my own personal stuff to deal with inside that I have not really finished dealing with yet. So You know, in the beginnings, my videos, my articles that I wrote were all just about heartbreak and what they do and how it's just so unbelievably ruthless and cold that they can just walk away with no empathy, no remorse, no nothing, and just erase you. That's exactly what they do. But my writing has evolved. And since that time, I focus less on the heartbreak of the traumatic experience of coming out of the shared fantasy and joining the real world. And I write more about ways to heal, obstacles to letting them go, breaking no contact. And I've even delved into what it is that makes narcissistic personality disorder and sociopathy and psychopathy. What is it that makes those things incurable? Trauma response, brain, they have brain damage. It's a brain disorder. It's a delusional disorder, and how it, in many ways, has some overlapping qualities of being like schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder and things like that. So, you know, you're never going to just get a person who's 100% one thing and you put a label on it and say that's what they are. A lot of times they have a lot of things stirred up together, comorbidities, you know, all like mingled together. So how is that like COVID? Well, it's complex. The reactions to that, it manifests in different ways for different people. Delta is not the same virus that the original COVID SARS virus, SARS-2 was. It has evolved. It has mutated. It has changed, just like you did in that relationship with that narcissist, just like you have to do after they're gone while you're trying to, you know, put yourself back together again, all Humpty Dumpty style and everything. There's mutations and changes that are inevitable that are going to happen, and you need to be ready for that. With the virus, this one is worse than the original, more contagious, more virulent, short incubation, only 4 days. When you're going through recovery, you may hit some walls. You may feel like you're dealing with something even worse than the abuse itself when you were in the relationship with that person, because it's just so awful, because you're addicted to them. And now that they're gone, you're having to deal with that on top of everything else. So, I definitely think that there's a parallel in experience. I hear people tell me, we're tired of being in our house and being quarantined and having everything closed up. We want to live our lives and take our chances, and we'll probably survive. The odds are in our favor, and we don't want to live with masks and behind closed doors, just isolated from the world, everything shut down. Open it up. Let's go dancing. Let's go, you know, take our chances. Little Russian roulette kind of thing going on there. And I work with a lot of younger people. In fact, I'm the oldest person on staff. Well, that's a great honor to have, right? And these much younger people, I was talking to one of them today, and they said, yeah, we're worried, but we're young and strong, and we feel like we're probably not going to get it because we have strong immune systems and we got the vaccine. And if we do get it, we're pretty confident we'll be okay because we got the vaccine and we're young and healthy. And I thought, well, you know, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. There's lots of breakthrough cases. There's a lot of people that thought they were going to be okay and they're not. So I wouldn't be too confident there, but I can see that urge to just go out there. And I always want to say, you know, do you think the people during the Spanish flu were crying about, oh, we got to stay home and not go to the whatever it was they did back during that time period, you know, that was like to church? And they're like, oh, we can't go to church because of the Spanish flu. Or during the bubonic plague, do you think that they were bitching and moaning about, oh, poor us, we're tired of, you know, like having to stay to our homes and burning the bodies of the dead and all of that. And so we want to just get on. And so rats or no rats, fleas or no fleas, we're ready to just forget about it. Do you think that's what they did? I don't know. But I do know that there's quite a few people that are terrified to be back in the buildings right now. It doesn't make sense, does it? We closed down and when things were less horrible than they are right now. And things are worse than they've ever been. We're breaking all kinds of records. And guys, I think we're heading into something pretty horrific. I think hospital systems will collapse. I think the numbers are going to explode even further with Lollapalooza and Sturgis and all of the big super spreader events. And then back to school, same classroom, some states not masking, crammed in a room together, no windows, poor ventilation. All those things the CDC says, well, if you do these, you're going to be safe. Yeah, if you do them. You know what my school says? It says we don't have the money to fight anybody. And so we're going to go along with whatever they tell us, which means if they say no mask, then we're just going to have to hope people will just do it of their own free will. And so we can't rock the boat. And our governor in our state cut all funding for virtual learning. So if we had it, we'd have to pay for it from money we don't have. Wow, it's just, why did they cut that budget? I know I had students last year, distance learning, and about half of them did really well. And the other half, it's not like they came and had trouble. Now, this was high school. It's just they didn't come at all. And that was where that went off the rails. So why not let the ones who did okay stay home and be safe if they choose to do so during such a horrific time? And then let the ones who want to come back, come back. For those of us who have to be at school, having the reduced numbers of some of them at home would sure help make things safer. So back to the COVID and the narcissistic abuse recovery comparison. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstandings. Most people don't even know what your problem is when you're trying to recover from this. They're wondering what's taking you so long. Why don't you just snap out of it and get over it? They don't understand that it's dysregulated brain chemicals, neurobiological dysregulation, that it's physiological, that it affects your body and your health. People develop all kinds of illnesses as a result of this. Trauma can remap your whole brain in some very profound ways and cause it to not function properly. You can have emotional dysregulation and problems there. You can have it's somatic. You have trauma in your body. I mean, recovery from something like this narcissistic experience with this person who is a very sick person, is not your regular breakup. And so all of the misunderstandings and conspiracy theories and misinformation about COVID, it's the same with narcissistic abuse. Here again, another parallel. That's right. People don't understand it. They don't know what's going on. There's misinformation. There's conspiracy theories about what's wrong with you. You must have had a mental breakdown and gosh, let's not hang around you anymore. You're weird and messed up. No, you're not. You have PTSD. You're going through a trauma. You are having a whole system shut down. You're having a complete whole mind, body, and soul experience trying to recover from this. So, yeah, if you find people who know what they're talking about, and there's a lot of places online that have resources, and some therapists are trained in this. There's life coaches out there. A lot of times they do better than your regular traditional psychologist or counselor, because that's their focal area. That's what they know about. That's their specialty. They've really done a deep dive to try to understand this one thing, and that's all they do. It's like going to a specialist when you go to the doctor. I I'm not saying all therapists and counselors can't meet your needs, because some of them can, but just because they say they're trained with trauma doesn't mean they can know anything about narcissistic abuse trauma. There's different kinds. And yeah, if that mental health professional doesn't have experience treating people suffering from narcissistic abuse, and if they don't understand the manifestations of what's happening as a consequence of that specifically, then they can't help you. They can't help you. And so misunderstandings on both sides, tricky, slippery stuff. It mutates, it changes. Just when you think you've got it whipped, kicks your butt again. There it is. Trigger time. That's right. Trigger time. Things pop up, smells, sounds, whatever, It's been 2 years, and sometimes I still text my narcissist psychopath and random stuff, trying to just, I don't know, pretend like I'm just still talking to him like I did when he was here. Just start talking like, hey, I had pancakes for dinner tonight, and what do you think about that? And, that's so unhealthy. And I just want to end with this. My vlogs, if you go back to the beginning, there's probably like 60 or 70 of them over the past 2 years. If you look at some of the first ones that I did, you're going to see that I told you quite clearly, with radical candor and transparency, that I am going through it myself, and I'm having panic attacks and anxiety and nightmares and flashbacks and some very serious PTSD withdrawal, addiction withdrawal kind of symptoms. And that for me, what I'm doing is not a professional, polished, edited package of like a program. That's a lot of P's. Polished, professional, packaged program. It's not that. What it is someone who has a master's degree with heavy, guidance and counseling training, and I have that. So, and then I also have my own personal experience and the support groups, the counselors, the programs, the boot camps, the interventions, the energy healers. I have a myriad of every type of healing modality and help, something to grab onto to try to help me from just dying. I have experience with all of them because I'm going through it myself. So I have the guidance and counseling master's degree training, and then I have the personal experience on top of it. This journey, from the beginning, I have said, I'm taking it with you. I'm a work in progress. I'm in recovery. I have addiction issues, attachment issues, abandonment issues, and some kind of dependency disorder. Yet to be determined. Codependency, dependent personality disorder, cluster C, who knows? Something like that for sure. So I'm still dealing with it. I'm still trying to be whole and healthy and to get better and to be the best that I can be so that I can go on about my life. And so I'm not the finished product that can say, look at me, I found the answer and here it is in this little package for $499. Join me and we'll get healed together. No, that's not what this is. This is me knowing what I'm talking about, knowing where to caution you, what not to do, like going to a mental health professional and trusting that they can help you when they have no idea about anything about narcissistic abuse. Warning, warning, I don't know where you're going to hear that kind of advisory, red flag, except from somebody who experienced it. I even went to the church looking for solace and for help and for therapy. And in my church, no one knew. I went to divorce care. That was a nice little supplemental thing that I did. But as far as addressing the narcissistic abuse, no, it did not. It did not. And there was no one there who knew what I was talking about. So I can give you that guidance, the warnings, the caution. I can tell you the things that helped me and the things that didn't. I can suggest alternative therapies. I can go over traditional therapies. I can talk to you about what is a narcissist? What was the relationship? What defined it? Why did you stay so long? Why are they the way they are? Why are they incapable of ever being a normal human being? I have a very deep understanding of all of that, and I can communicate that to you in ways to empower you with the knowledge of what they are, why they did what they did, how they operate, what might be wrong with you that causes you to stay with people like that in the first place, when a person who had stronger boundaries and was maybe a little bit, whole and in a wholeness kind of, resolved trauma of their own kind of way, would have just walked away. They would have not put up with what many of us did put up with over a long period of time. Kind of like the frog in the tepid water, they just turn up the heat. It just gets worse and worse. And yet there you are, boiling and bubbling away. So COVID, Delta, pandemic, not good. Over 150,000 cases today on August 12th, 2021. I think it's going to get a lot worse. I can't forecast what's going to happen. I think that we should have the option of having some of our kids be virtual. That's definitely a need, and there's nothing wrong with it. For some kids, it works. It's not a one-size-fits-all. For some children, virtual instruction is perfectly fine. They're getting just as much out of that as they would if they were sitting at school all day in a mask, distanced from people, or crowded together, coughing and sneezing all over each other. Not good, right? I mean, everybody's going to make their own decision, but it's not like we all have to go back. No, we don't. There's people going into office buildings that have been required to return to the office for no reason. No reason. I know some of the state of Texas, the people who work for the state of Texas, tied up in the whole bureaucracy of, this is the way it's always been done. And they have been asked to return to the building for no reason. They can do what they do, the training, the whatever. They can do it just as easily at home as they can from the office. Now they have a 2-hour commute, and they have to sit up there with germs all day in a mask all day. It doesn't make sense. I think that, when you're recovering from narcissistic abuse, there's silly things there too. If you can have certain ideas about how you just want to get back to how things were. Just like with COVID, we just want to go back and put things the way they were before COVID, before the discard in the narcissistic relationship. We just want things to go back to the way they were. Well, you know what? They're not going to. They're not going to. Not for either one of us. For those with the whole COVID thing, it's not going to ever go back to the way it was before. The world is changing all the time, and we can either try to push things back into the past and restore what we lost and try to recapture some history of pre-pandemic routines and structures, or we can embrace the opportunity to reinvent some things and do better. Maybe schools are going to be hybrid forever, and maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, I said it. Maybe that's a good thing, right? Open your mind and think differently. We're going to do the same thing over and over forever and ever. We have to evolve. And if you do things with your recovery from the narcissistic abuse, and you just do them over and over, trying to go back and have things the way they were, they're never going to be like that. It's over. It's over with your narcissist. They're gone. They have erased you. You have to move on. You have to adapt, and you have to build resiliency, because being resilient is a very important skill for people in COVID world and in people in recovery from narcissistic abuse. For both groups, if you're not adaptable and resilient, you're just going to keep trying to return to the past, and the past ain't there. You got to move forward and reinvent something new. So I don't know if you agree with me, but I think what I'm saying is I speak of the truth. Got some wisdom here. I don't know a lot of things. I know just a very few things. But the few narrow set of things that I know, I know them very well, and I hope that you feel that you can trust me with my perspectives on these things, that we have to reinvent, make new problem solve. We have to problem solve. We have to learn to bend and sway and not just be stiff and rigid. We have to learn to be creative, think outside the box, be inventful and innovative. Can we try to do that and stop trying to return to the past? And that's for both, that's applying to both the COVID and the recovery from narcissistic abuse. So, I should really script these things, because sometimes I think I miss out on the things that I might want to say, but I think I got the main part of it. So I'll let you go now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for reading my articles and listening to my podcast. I don't make any money off of this. I'm not one of those packaged, polished programs. I'm not one of those professional packaged programs that's all, super edited and charge a lot of money. I don't make any money, right? I lose money keeping up my website, and, I make a little money on my writing, but it's not enough compared to what I have to spend to hire people to do stuff for me, to keep the ball rolling. I might break even probably at the end of the day. So I'm doing this because it helps me to heal. There is a selfish motivation. It helps me to heal by helping you to heal. It does. It gives me purpose, meaning. I feel passionate about educating people about all this stuff. I feel passionately about helping people not suffer the way that I did, because I couldn't find my tribe. I couldn't find people to talk to about this. I didn't know where to turn. It was like, oh my gosh, what is happening to me? Oh my God, I'm going to die. But I didn't, because I did find what I needed. I found people, support groups. I found online stuff, and I found my own ability to write about it, podcast about it. And through those things that I'm doing here, through trying to help you, give you support, resources, ideas, education, enlightenment, I'm hoping to give you hope. That's what I hope. I hope it gives you hope. Oh, and for the COVID thing, I don't have control over that. That's not my jam. Don't have any. I just do see kind of a similar correlation there. So I wanted to point that out so that you can decide, what do you need to do differently? New, resilient, adaptable, problem-solving, creative, outside the box, critical thinking, problem-solving, like all that. What can you do to recover from the abusive relationship and to stay alive during this pandemic, which is not looking so great, right? It's just, I think we can apply that same, let's think forward instead of trying to push everything back into the past the way it was. Let's move forward and do better with our recovery and with COVID. Let's do better, newer, different, fresh. Whoa, but this is something new and exciting. Let's do that instead of trying to push everything back and recapture something that's gone. It's gone. It's lost. It's over. It's done. It's not going back. So let's go forward, accept that, and let's get excited about what we can do to make things better. Because, man, if we don't get some action happening here soon, yeah, So anyway, thanks for listening. And read my articles, listen to my podcast. Those are great to listen to while you're driving or cleaning house or cooking dinner. Just turn one of those on and listen. And I make zero money on the podcast. And there's like, I don't know, a bunch of them, like a lot of them. And I make them for people who don't like to read the articles so that you can just listen to me. I know I don't have the best voice, and I know it's not all fancy, but it's good information, guys. So get a program going, get a routine, grow your mind, grow your spirit, And we can do this. We can rise above these things that are challenges right now, and we can survive and overcome them. I think we can. I hope so. Okay. Much love. See you soon. Bye.